Hello, and welcome to Tuchopini. In this video, we work through the whole of the KCSE 2025 Physics Paper 1, paper code 232/1. The paper has two sections. Section A, questions 1 to 14 for 25 marks, and Section B, questions 15 to 19 for 55 marks. Every answer here is worked step by step and checked against the marking scheme. Let's begin. Hello and welcome. Let's work through question 1 together. A micrometer screw gauge has a zero error of plus 0.02 millimeters, and it reads 0.31 millimeters for the diameter of a steel ball. We need the actual diameter. Here is the key idea. A positive zero error means the gauge reads too high, so we subtract that error from the reading to get the true value. So we substitute. Actual equals 0.31 minus 0.02 millimeters. 0.31 take away 0.02 is 0.29. So the actual diameter of the steel ball is 0.29 millimeters. Well done! That's question 1 complete. Let's look at question 2. Students want to safely cut a tree, and they can estimate its height using the height of one student. The trick is to use shadows and similar triangles. Measure the student's height and the length of the student's shadow. At the same time, measure the length of the tree's shadow. The sun makes the same angle for both, so the two triangles are similar. Because the triangles are similar, the ratios of matching sides are equal. Height of tree over height of student equals length of the tree's shadow over length of the student's shadow. Rearranging, the tree's height equals the student's height times the ratio of the two shadows. Measure the three lengths and you have the tree's height. Well done. Question 3. A heavy block sits on a plank that rests on two pivots, and we must show how tensional force acts on the plank. The block pushes the middle of the plank down, so the plank bows downwards. This bending stretches the lower fibers of the wood. Stretched fibers pull back, so tension acts along the plank, directed outwards along the lower surface towards each pivot. Those orange arrows show the tensional force. Well done! Question 4. We squeeze a tube of toothpaste and it comes out of the nozzle. What principle is at work here? This is Pascal's principle. The toothpaste is an enclosed fluid, and squeezing raises the pressure inside. Pressure applied at one point of an enclosed fluid is transmitted equally to all other parts. That extra pressure pushes the paste out through the open nozzle. Well done. Question 5. 2 cubic centimeters of dry salt is dissolved in 10 cubic centimeters of water, yet the solution measures only 10.5 cubic centimeters, not 12. Why is the total less than the sum? Picture the water molecules. Like any particles, they are not packed perfectly. There are tiny spaces between them. When the salt dissolves, its small particles slot into those spaces between the water molecules, so they take up almost no extra room. So the salt particles occupy the spaces between the water molecules, and the volume of the solution is less than the sum of the two volumes. Well done. Question 6. Which feature of a clinical thermometer lets the reading stay the same after it is taken away from the patient's body? Just above the bulb, there is a very narrow section of the tube called the constriction. When the thermometer is removed and the mercury cools, the thread breaks at the constriction, so the mercury above it cannot flow back into the bulb. The reading is held until you shake it down. Well done. Question 7. Two spanners are used to loosen the same nut. Spanner B has a longer handle. Explain why it needs less force. The turning effect on the nut is the moment. The force times its perpendicular distance from the nut. Spanner B applies its force much further from the nut. To loosen the nut, we need the same moment either way. Moment equals force times distance. Since B has a longer distance, the same moment is reached with a smaller force. That's why the longer spanner needs less effort. Well done. Question 8. An oval ball is balanced, standing on its end on the ground. Explain why this is unstable equilibrium. Balanced upright, its center of gravity is high, sitting directly above the tiny point of contact with the ground. Give it the slightest push, and the center of gravity moves outside the base, and it is lowered. The weight then creates a turning moment that topples the ball further from its original position. Because a small displacement lowers the center of gravity and moves the ball further away, it is in unstable equilibrium. Well done. Question 9. A student calibrates a spring balance. Besides the spring and known masses, name one more piece of apparatus that is needed. Hanging the known masses stretches the spring by different amounts. To turn those extensions into a scale, you must measure how far the pointer moves each time. That instrument is a meter rule. It measures each extension so the student can mark the calibrated scale on the balance. Well done. Question 10. A vehicle speeding along a dusty road leaves a trail of dust that rises high above the ground. Let's explain why. As the vehicle rushes forward, the air behind it moves very fast to fill the gap. Fast-moving air has low pressure, so a low-pressure region forms in the wake right behind the car. The surrounding air is at higher atmospheric pressure, so it pushes the dust up into that low-pressure zone, lifting the trail high above the road. So fast, air creates low pressure behind the vehicle, and the higher atmospheric pressure pushes the dust upward. Well done. Question 11. An object starts at 3 meters per second and slows uniformly to rest over 10 meters. Find its acceleration. Let's list what we know. Initial velocity u is 3. Final velocity v is 0 because it stops. And the distance s is 10 meters. We have u, v, and s. And we want a. So we use the equation of motion v squared equals u squared plus 2as. Substitute the numbers. 0 equals 3 squared plus 2 times a times 10. 3 squared is 9, and 2 times 10 is 20. So 0 equals 9 plus 20a. Take 9 to the other side and divide by 20. A equals minus 9 over 20. That is minus 0.45 meters per second squared. The minus sign shows it is a deceleration. Well done. Question 12. A coin rests on a smooth card on top of an empty beaker. The card is flicked away horizontally. State and explain what happens. Here is the setup. The coin sits on the card, and the card bridges the mouth of the beaker. When the card is pulled away quickly, the coin has inertia. Its inertia of rest makes it resist the sudden motion, so it barely moves sideways. With the card gone, the only force on the coin is its weight, so it drops straight down into the beaker. So the observation is that the coin falls into the beaker. Its inertia keeps it in place as the card is pulled, then gravity pulls it down. Well done. Question 13. State one source of non-renewable energy. A non-renewable source is one that gets used up and is not replaced within a human lifetime. A clear example is coal, a fossil fuel. Oil or natural gas would also be accepted. Well done. That's question 13. Question 14. Why is a person trapped in a smoke-filled room advised to crawl along the floor towards the exit? Hot smoke from the fire is less dense than the surrounding air, so it rises and collects near the ceiling. The air layer near the floor stays cooler and denser, has more breathable oxygen and much less smoke. So you can see the exit. So crawling keeps you in the cooler, oxygen-rich, clearer air below the smoke. Well done. Question 15 is all about heat. Let's take it part by part. Part A. Specific heat capacity is the quantity of heat needed to raise the temperature of a unit mass of a substance by 1 degree, or 1 Kelvin. Part B. 1. When an ice cube is placed in water, heat flows from the warmer water to the colder ice. That heat provides the latent heat of fusion, which breaks the bonds in the ice and it melts. Part B. 2. The melting point of the ice can be reduced in 2 ways. First, increase the pressure on it, and second, add impurities such as salt. Part C. A block of ice at 0 degrees is given 2,000 joules. The heat to melt is Q equals m times the latent heat of fusion, so mass m is Q divided by Lf. Substitute 2,000 joules over 3.36 times 10 to the 5. That gives 5.95 times 10 to the minus 3 kilograms of water. Part D. 25 grams of hot water at 50 degrees is mixed with 75 grams of cold water at 20. Heat lost by the hot water equals heat gained by the cold. The specific heat capacity cancels, leaving 25 times 50 minus T equals 75 times T minus 20. Divide both sides by 25. 50 minus T equals 3 times T minus 20. Expand and collect. 110 equals 4T. Divide by 4, and the final temperature of the mixture is 27.5 degrees Celsius. Well done. That completes question 15. Question 16 is about the behavior of gases. Part A. To verify Boyle's law, the students need a pressure gauge, such as a Bourdon gauge, and a calibrated cylinder or syringe to read the volume. And the quantity they must keep constant is the temperature. Part B. 2 gases start at opposite ends of a tube and meet where a white deposit forms. The deposit forms nearer gas B, which means gas A travelled further, so gas A diffused faster. To increase the rate of diffusion of the gases in the tube, you can raise the temperature or reduce the pressure. Part C. 1. Charles's law by the kinetic theory. Raising the temperature makes the molecules move faster with more kinetic energy. To keep the pressure constant, the gas must expand, so the number of collisions per unit area each second stays the same. Hence, volume rises with temperature. Part C. 2. At constant pressure, Charles's law says V1 over T1 equals V2 over T2. Convert to Kelvin. 19 plus 273 is 292, and 24 plus 273 is 297. So V2 is 20 times 297 over 292, which is 20.34 cubic centimeters. Well done. Question 16 is complete. Question 17 is about circular motion. Part A. 1. An object moves from A to B on a circle of radius r. The angular displacement θ is the angle A, center, B at the middle. The linear displacement s is the distance along the arc from A to B. Part A. 2. Angular velocity omega is the angular displacement θ divided by time t. Now the linear velocity v is the arc length over time. The arc length is r times θ, so v equals r θ over t. But θ over t is omega, so v equals r omega. Part B. A pendulum bob of mass 20 grams, that is 0.02 kilograms, moves on a radius of 1 meter at 0.5 meters per second. Centripetal acceleration A is v squared over r, which is 0.5 squared over 1, giving 0.25 meters per second squared. The centripetal force is mass times that acceleration. 0.02 times 0.25, which is 0.005 newtons. Part C. The centripetal force needed to go round a bend is mv squared over r. On a sharp corner, r is small, and at high speed the required force becomes larger than the friction between the tyres and the road. The car would skid, so it must reduce its speed to lower the force needed. Well done. Question 17 is complete. Question 18 is about Archimedes' principle and floating. Part A. Archimedes' principle states that when a body is wholly or partly immersed in a fluid, it experiences an upthrust equal to the weight of the fluid it displaces. Part B. 1. To find the mass of water displaced, read the initial volume, V1, in the measuring cylinder, lower the metal in on the thread, and read the new volume, V2. The volume displaced is V2 minus V1, and the mass is the density of water times that volume displaced. Part B. 2. Now weigh the metal in air with the spring balance to get its weight in air. Then weigh it while fully submerged to get its apparent weight in water. The upthrust is the weight in air minus the weight in water. Archimedes' principle is verified when this upthrust equals the weight of the water displaced. Part C. 1. Surface tension in a liquid can be reduced by raising its temperature or by adding a detergent or soap. Part C. 2. The object sinks fully in water, but floats partly in glycerine. Glycerine is denser than water, so for the same displaced volume, it provides a greater upthrust. The object's density is greater than water's, so it sinks in water, but less than glycerine's, so it floats in glycerine. Well done. Question 18 is complete. Question 19, our last question, has 3 parts. Part A. A stone and a piece of paper are dropped together in a vacuum and land at the same time. In a vacuum, there is no air resistance, so the only force is gravity. The acceleration due to gravity is the same for both and does not depend on mass, so they fall together. Part B. A car of mass 1560 kilograms, traveling at 25 meters per second, is brought to rest by a constant force of 3,000 newtons. The change in momentum is mass times v minus u, that is 1560 times 0 minus 25, which is minus 39,000 kilogram meters per second. The impulse, force times time, equals the change in momentum. So the time to stop is the size of the momentum change over the force. 39,000 over 3,000, which is 13 seconds. Part C. Jane's palm is 18.7 centimeters long. To estimate the table's length, she lays her palm end to end along the edge, counts how many palm lengths fit, and multiplies that count by 18.7 centimeters. But the estimate is not accurate, because small gaps or overlaps between placements add up to a cumulative error, and the palm is not a standard, precise measuring tool. Well done. That completes the whole paper.